The evil within. This is such an interesting experience. And at the time of this recording, I just actually started replaying it. And when I say it's a very interesting experience, it is very true. It is a survival horror game that really turns things on its ear. And it literally does start out so innocently. And they really crank things up. In case you've never played the game, you play Detective Sebastian Castanos. And I'll probably butcher that name if I keep trying to repeat it. He and two other detectives, junior detectives, come out of, just finishing off with a big case, and all hell is breaking loose over at Beacon Mental Hospital. Of course, as you're making your way there, there is some sort of strangeness happening. A strange signal comes over the radio. This is fresh in my mind as I just started replaying it. I'm playing it again for the podcast games my mom found. So, we go there. We find dead bodies. We find what looks like one apparent survivor, a doctor. And as Sebastian takes a look at the surveillance monitors, we see three other cops facing off against something that quickly kills them. This is our antagonist for the game, known as Ruvik. And then he somehow appears behind us and apparently knocks us out, leaving us, when we come to, hanging by our feet from a chain or restraint in the room of some nasty butcher-like fellow. One who has his arms shackled and apparently likes to use a chainsaw. This is our first real threat, as we have no weapons to use against this monstrosity. So, we have to literally get away from him. This is also where we learn about one of the key mechanics in the game: stealth. Stealth is a highly important skill in this game. You actually get an indicator at the top of the screen which tells if enemies are about and if they are aware of your presence. They will respond to sound. They will respond to if they see you. And if you don't have a weapon to use against them, you're pretty much screwed. Pardon. You have to hide from them. You have to be able to distract them. You can distract them by, say, throwing a bottle or something like that. So literally, your first chapter of this game is getting away from this. Well, his name is the Sadist. And I had a little trouble getting away from him the last time just when I started replaying it, which is kind of ironic because the first time I played it, I actually did better. Of course, we then, escaped the hospital. We have an officer in a ambulance. We have the doctor we found. The one detective who had stayed outside, name of Kidman. And a patient known as Leslie. And of course, as we are getting away, the strange stuff keeps happening. I kid you not. City blocks are shifting. Roads are shifting. In our mad escape from the area as the whole world goes nuts, with a brief look up, Sebastian seems to see our adversary, Ruvik, briefly in the back of the ambulance. And of course, when he turns around to look over his shoulder, said individual's not there. And then all of a sudden, our driver has changed into something dead looking, and we go flying off an end of the road, landing in more of like a suburb village type area, kind of farming community type thing. Now, since you go in not even knowing what the whole area of Crimson City is like, this doesn't necessarily drive you too off. I mean, yeah, there's some weird shit happening. Apparently, a lighthouse shines that when it shines light on people, they change into twisted monsters. In fact, when we get to the small little farmer's town, we find the doctor, and we have to help him get past the gate. No, oh, hey, there's our chainsaw wielding friend, and you have to fight him. But all this time, you are gaining weapons. You have about like 5 weapons in this game that you pick up over time. I mean, you got your standard little, revolver. You could pick up like a shotgun, a rifle, 5 or 6 weapons. You can even grab a sniper rifle, even a magnum, and a trademark weapon, I think, for this series, the Agony crossbow. Now, of course, as you continue through this game, the doctor is looking for Leslie. You're looking for your fellow detectives. And you're trying to survive the monstrosities that Ruvik is sending after you. And you actually find out who Ruvik is. During this. So as you move through this all, I mean, you are going through everything in this game. You are kind of come across some of the most crazy things. And you also are going to end up going back to what looks like a smaller mental hospital. But it's a very odd construct. It has a version of your office in it, or your workstation. A map of Crimson City that you will be putting together if you find the parts. And also a remarkable young nurse whose name is, well, you find this out in the second game, at least, if you turn on the captioning. Her name is Titania. And as you move into this, when you get into an area called your save room, you actually have an area where you can upgrade your abilities. All it costs you is some green goo that you will find throughout the game. And this not only improves your physical abilities, it will improve how well you use your weapons. You can improve how much you can carry, everything. All it just takes is strap it into the machine and frying your brain, augmenting your brain with the green goo. Now, of course, once you get through the quote save room, and you awaken in that forest area. Of course, you gotta work your way through that, get to the village. And you'll definitely come back to that save room a lot during this game. And meet all your people. You will then of course, have to get, getting through that city. You end up moving on to, I'm trying to think now. I think it's in the fourth chapter. I could be wrong. Where you're going to encounter, and you'll find Leslie again and deal with some nasty things. Oh, and yes, you'll find chests along the way, and some will have stuff in them, but some will also be booby trapped, so you have to undo the booby traps, and that's something you can actually do quite easily. It's almost like a skill game. But eventually, I mean, you'll run into invisible characters. And you run across, of course, in one part of the town, a doctor who was sort of key in helping develop what we are in. You pursue Leslie, you deal with the invisible dudes, the invisible enemy, deal with the horde, but you also run across Laura. Laura is your biggest threat in this game. Well, it's one of your big threats in this game. As she is a literal spider-like entity. And the only thing that can really hurt her or allow her to be hurt is fire. And to make matters even worse, well, you're eventually going to run across other strange creatures. In fact, you'll even find, when you find your partners, they are in sort of a bad situation, so you have to rescue them and fight off more nasties. And then you will have to deal with Laura in a giant furnace-like room. And of course, to defeat her, you will have to, you know, you're going to have to basically lure her into a fire area and fry her ass. And this will get rid of her so you can move on. It won't kill her. You'll have to deal with some more unnervingness, like unplugging a brain. And eventually you're going to end up heading through some more areas. Run across that friendly neighborhood. I think you run into our sadist again. Even a pair of giant mutated twins and other monstrosities. A demon dog, which you're going to have to duck out of range of, and even retrieve your partner's glasses. Because, of course, he's going to lose them while you're dealing with that monstrosity. Until you finally run across one of the most, when you go into a church and start running across an entity called the Keeper. The Keeper. Well, as you work your way through catacombs, of course, which you will have to figure a way through and use your skills to avoid getting killed. Locate Leslie, and of course also get past some toxic gas. But you're also going to deal with the Keeper. I think that's his name. A safe for a head, which he can also dislodge from his neck and toss it, and form from another similar safe from the area. Excuse me. You are eventually going to have to get past this nasty thing, while also working to clean off everything else. once you, of course, get through all that, you are also learning more and more about what's going on. You see, with all this strangeness, you have to deal. You find out you are apparently plugged into some machine. Something that was designed to sort of work as a hive mind type thing. And this was designed in part by the doctor, but also by Ruvik. And you sort of learn through here that Ruvik suffered a very nasty, cruel fate. He and his sister, Laura, yeah, spider bitch, were sort of caught in a barn. And some locals, for some reason or other, set fire to it while they were inside. Ruvik survived, severely burned. Maria did not. But Ruvik has keyed in on this plan to use this STEM engine. And he wanted to use it so that he could have a new life in a newer body. The trick was, he's got to get out. So now it is up to you to defeat him. Of course, you are also showing signs that you're being affected by whatever the light, the beacon is doing. In fact, the only person who doesn't seem affected, it seems, is Kidman. There's a reason for that. Of course, as you work through things and fight Ruvik's monstrosities, one of which is this big-ass thing that chases you when you're basically escaping on a bus. And you have to fight Laura. You will have to get rid of this, I think it's called the Keeper. Maybe have another encounter or two with the Sadist. That's the one with the chainsaw. Even a creature that can cloak itself, it's like a giant ass, it's like part cuttlefish or something. But you have to get rid of it. Hell, it likes to hang out in pipes that's over the area you're fighting in. But you have to figure things out how to kill it there. But in the end, you get to an epic battle scenario. Basically going back to the mental hospital to fight Ruvik in what is I can only call one of the most surreal battles you will ever have. I mean, you are going to have to fight hordes of creatures. You are going to have to fight two of the keepers. You are going to have to even fight Ruvik himself. Dodging some massive blows and finally being able to shoot him down with some army grade weaponry. All this time, you are also having to even sometimes jump back to that little safe haven of yours to use the green goo to improve your skills. You'll find keys inside little statues that allow you to access stuff. Articles and files all over the place. Helps you reveal some of the past of your own character and of the characters in the game. And when you have the final battle with Ruvik, it's enough to destroy a person in actual physical form. But as I said, halfway through we find out we're somehow stuck in the STEM engine. In fact, once we defeat Ruvik, we come out of the STEM engine. And who's on the outside already waiting for us? Well, the people who are running the actual STEM engine. And one of those people is Kidman. She's been working with this group. And for some reason, she had come into. Because you got pulled into it. Sebastian. Now, there's some DLC that allows you to learn some of the story of Kidman. I didn't play that. But this is definitely a game that works with inventory management. You can run out of ammo, but luckily sometimes they'll provide you with some in some of the nastier encounters. I mean, a giant monstrosity that you gotta fight in what looks like a garage. Whew, that was nasty. Or even a character that is so, or fighting Laura is a trick. Getting past some of these monstrosities, they got fish-like monstrosities that you gotta distract, or else they're gonna eat you up as you're passing through the water. It don't matter if you had to. I mean, this doesn't even matter. This isn't sort of the whole. It's not the. Not necessarily so deep that you can't necessarily walk through it, or that you have to swim. You could, sink to the bottom or anything like that. No, this is just. It's kind of weird. And I think that sort of adds to the charm of this title. It's weird. If you want to think of it, it's what your brain could think up if given no parameters. It helps explain why whole city blocks with skyscrapers are shifting and the damn buildings not falling over. It explains why you in an ambulance could survive a fall. It explains why Leslie, who is almost appears to be mentally deficient in some ways, can wander through an area and somehow manage to avoid getting attacked. It explains a lot. It answers why the more handgun ammo you can carry can depend on how much green goo you inject into your system. And It could be its own stand. I mean, you didn't know if there would be a second one, and there is, but it's a good story that can be summed up in one game and leaves fans to speculate. I enjoyed this game, although, sometimes it can be frustrating when you're fighting some of the nastier characters or just trying to avoid being spotted by them. But eventually, what it ends up doing is it becomes second hat to you. The farther you get into it, and some of the things I did not, I hardly looked at a walkthrough when I played this the first time, but I managed to locate a lot of things on my first playthrough. So there is an intuitiveness that's in the game. It may seem to overwhelm you a few times, but in the end, you can actually maneuver your way through this game very well. And maybe if you have deep fears of certain things, it could affect you. But it's still a very good game. Very good game. I enjoyed it. And I'm, well, currently in the process, like I said, replaying it and working my way through the second one, which has some changes in it, but I think so far they're good changes. But that's all I'm going to say about the Evil Within. Definitely give this game a try. Definitely play this game. I'll probably end up saying that again when we record for this particular game on Games My Mom Found. Until next time, take care all.